I propose we start. There's not a lot of people. Maybe other people will join or people will watch this later. So welcome on the webinar of cybersecurity and threats organized by the Dutch Chamber in Slovakia with help of my colleague Pieter Steiner, Bart Waterlaus on behalf of VGD, Richard Kellner on behalf of Commerzbank and Peter Kolarov from Cryonic. But first of all, I would like to extend a very warm welcome to His Excellency, Mr. Ambassador Henk Cort van der Kast. And maybe I could ask you to digitally open this event for us and to say a few words from your perspective in this COVID times, if you want.
Yeah, thank you very much, Jan Lambert, and thanks for the initiative, all the colleagues involved. I think it's very good to go on with the business even in COVID times. At the same time, there are challenges. We in the embassy have worked from home now for 2.5 months. And I must say it's worked much better than we thought it would work. At the same time, it's not the same as meeting in the office. So there is definitely some disadvantage. It's important to see how you can overcome with that disadvantage. For us, there were 3 main challenges. The first one was staying in contact with each other despite of not meeting and greeting in the office. Secondly, the equipment. How are people working from home? What are the conditions? And thirdly, of course, security. To start with the first point, for us, it was very important that we had a regular weekly meeting as we normally have. And in between, we also had a lot of contacts. We even had virtual coffees and virtual drinks, which actually were quite good to stay in contact. So we had agreement on what we would do in a meeting. At the virtual coffee, for instance, we would ask people whether they were in bare feet or something else, which we would never do in an official staff meeting. So those kind of things to keep in contact. Secondly, equipment. We had a provision that people could buy to a certain extent IT things in order to be better equipped for their work. And last but not least, we started using Zoom in the general thing, and we changed to MS Teams, which we found more secure overall. But if you have a special Zoom, as we have today, I think it will work also. But security is of the essence, and that's why I think it is quite important. Thank you.
Thanks, Mr. Ambassador, for these words. And in the meantime, I see more people joining. So welcome if you tuned in later. As we are Dutch, we like to start on time. But everything is recorded, so you can later listen this wonderful webinar back. As a kind of playing rules for this webinar, Barbara is helping us with muting and unmuting if there's too much noise to keep the meeting calm. And if you have a question, I would like to ask you to put it in the chat. Then I will try to moderate it and to give it to a speaker who can answer these questions. But first, before we start the question and answers, the speakers prepared a small talk to share their experience of the last time, and also to give you some hints and tips for your company how to protect yourself against threats you maybe not even know or aware of. So if I can start the round with Peter Steiner.
Thank you. So welcome also from my side, from Da Vinci. My name is Peter. I'm responsible for internal infrastructure and IT at whole Da Vinci. Our company is working mainly from 3 locations, which is Belgium, Netherlands, and Slovakia. And therefore, I would like to share our story, how we overcome the last 3 months. And maybe some of you can maybe be interested into knowing more, so later on you can approach me. So at the beginning, the main question is like what we did and how the corona affected us. To be honest, luckily to start positive, it didn't that much. So luckily we were not affected from a technical perspective. We are working for banking business and we are used to work remotely in the nights and whenever it's needed and from whatever place. And so the beginning was easy because we always since ever relied on notebooks. So the first problem, like Mr. Henker said, the hardware equipment we already had in place since we ever started. So that was the positive part to start. We had headphones, we had external keyboards, monitors, everything in place. The only thing which happened is that during the first week, I took the car, went to the office, put as many monitors as possible inside of the trunk, and then delivered to the homes like a delivery, which helped some of our colleagues to overcome the toughest period when they don't have their workplace arranged at home as at the office. So that was maybe the first thing we did. Second step on our end from infrastructure was that we thought our VPN will be overloaded. So we created immediately the first day 3 another endpoints, which took like 1 week until it was fully tested and working. Everybody got those credentials and people started to use them. But luckily, again, we were very lucky and we recognized that our first VPN, the main VPN, is so strong and powerful that we didn't use anything else. So it was used only as a backup. So this triple backup for 3 locations worked very well, and we are relying even now for these backup cases. Third, and from my perspective, this was the most important part, even though it's not related to IT, was setting up a daily COVID call. This call was created with the representatives of all the important parts of DaVinci. So we are servicing our clients, we are servicing our internal clients, we are servicing more countries. So each of these locations had a representative there, as well as the most important parts of our business. It was like a relatively short group of 5 to 6 people. Also, our security officer of the company was always there. And this was, in my opinion, like I said, very important, because there we discuss on daily basis what is happening, how do we synchronize all the steps we are doing in the countries, what is the problems within each of the specific countries, and help each other with sharing experiences. And that was really the big game changer, in my opinion. Actually, until last week, so full 3 months, we had it every day, and it was very helpful. So this was the main 3 steps we did, which all took like 2 weeks to set up properly and start to use everything. Since this was done and everything started to work in a way, we were thinking like, okay, what's next? So we started to educate our people, and this is more about the security. So we started to send way more informative emails, created few groups where people can ask. We also stressed out there is no stupid question, especially not in this time. If it's related to IT, all the abbreviations not many people know. So we started to educate. We stressed out how important it is to rotate the passwords. What are the differences about VPNs, because we have many, and also how to use them and where to ask if people are having troubles. Maybe an interesting point, which not everybody is aware of or is used to, is testing also the knowledge of our people. And that's how we did a phishing attack. Those of you who are from IT know what it means. For the rest, I will explain. It's a email attack on in our case, internal people, where we test the knowledge of our people, how well are they educated, and how high is their security awareness. And the attack itself is aimed on getting email accounts and passwords. so logon credentials to domain or email client or similar. We did it with cooperation with White Hackers, so professional company, to make it as professional as possible. And luckily, the results again were very good. Only very few people clicked on it, and it created a big hype inside of the company, where the channels started to be flooded with information from all kinds of users. Like, okay, I get a strange email. Do you have the same? And all kinds of these questions. So, in our opinion, it worked very well, and people created more and more awareness. Like again, Mr. Henker said, in the beginning, we were also analyzing all kinds of possibilities to using Zoom or Skype for Business or Teams or whatsoever. And we had already Office 365, so we were using Teams. But in the beginning, they had huge troubles. The first 3 weeks, day by day, it was a little bit improving, but it was not very stable. It was not possible to call all the time. So at that moment, we tried also Zoom, but within a week, we knew there were some issues, and we stopped to use it for professional meetings with our client, and only for social stuff and after work meetups. So this is mainly how we did it. And what I want to say as well is that after a month of all these stressful times, we came back to the normal. So we started to work as normal, but from home offices. So that meant that we started to do normal reports, we started to do normal meetings. Our members of management logged randomly to those meetings to keep the contact with people, to be aware of what is happening. And we always had open eye and ear for stressful situations, for asking for help if someone needs help. And it was very well supported with our management. And that's maybe the last thing I want to say. If you think about infrastructure and IT, it's never cheap. And in normal times, it's not taken very well if I, as IT manager, ask for 100K for improvement for something which is literally not visible. But in these cases, it's exactly what helped us to overcome this period and go on without any hiccups, because we had a plan which was followed, and our management supported it because they trusted me and also my team, that we know what we do, and it helped us tremendously to overcome this bad period. We didn't have to buy hardware, we didn't have to invest immediately into some improvements, and that was the great stuff. So maybe that's our short story about how we did it.
Short story, I don't know, Peter, but
you can stop me anytime.
As I'm part of the management in DaVinci, I can confirm that last year Peter presented a plan to upgrade the infrastructure before we knew anything about what is happening to us today. We had very tough struggles and talks from my Dutch colleagues. They don't like to spend money as the real Dutch. They said, why is it needed? Is it not gold-plated Rolls-Royce, Peter Steiner dreams, what he wants to implement? But Peter Steiner was able, together with me, to convince the rest of the people. And now, during the crisis, they said, thank God, thank Steiner, actually, that we listened to this, and that now, from one day to the other, 200 people could work at home without any problem. And basically, we were helping customers of us, also even banks, to help with their struggle, because they had bandwidth problems, they had VPN trouble, etc., etc., etc. So it's about preparation, and the other thing, what Peter Steiner was mentioning, attacking our own people, that was also never came to our mind, but it was good that we did it. It was also an important lesson, and we will keep on doing that, because a controlled attack is better than an attack you don't know, and then you have to respond. So it's like the fire brigade, they are also training and putting stuff on fire and to see what's going on. And I think that's also what we learned from this security awareness. So that's also a take-home lesson. So I would go to our next speaker just to share your experience. Bart Waterloos from VKD. Please share us your experience and your views on what's coming next.
Okay, thank you, Jan Amber. Before looking at what's coming next, I would also look back on the past. How did we help our employees? Because also in our situation, indeed, from day to day, everybody stayed at home. We're now in a situation that I think 85% of the staff is already back in the office. But also in our case, people stayed at home. Luckily, we were used also to the fact that we had people working from a distance already in the past, especially our audit teams. They're on the road all the time, so they have to have data available when they're at the client. But we also had already people on home office. So we were able to scale up on that pretty fast. Of course, the first weeks we were faced with issues that were dealing with how to properly use your remote desktop or your VPN. People were using it in the wrong way, so that we're using too much bandwidth. So we had to educate a lot of people to use properly the tools they had available. And we also speeded up our internet lines considerably over that period to make sure that we can accommodate those 150 people indeed working from home. Data protection for us is always part, of course, of our daily business because we have all this sensitive data from our clients. So I think data security was always already on a very high level in our company, and we of course keep that with all the security tools that we have on all our computers. The way you log in, it's double secure. So I think we're pretty fine on data security. We didn't go as far as Peter to drive around with monitors, but we did invite our staff that if they would need indeed this external keyboard or the monitor that they have in their office, they were always welcome to come to the office and take it home, so it makes it easier for them to work from home. Working from home, we also encouraged our managers to do indeed very regular calls and to really make a split between work-related calls and just checking in calls, like the coffee calls. For instance, with my small team, I had a call every Monday morning at 9 o'clock, 15 to 20 minutes, just talking about how the weekend was, and we didn't speak about work at all. That I had other meetings on Tuesdays and Wednesdays. We also did some internal webinars, especially to assist manager in working from home and how to manage your teams when having them at the home office and not being able to work with them. I think in the end, everybody more or less managed it, and we still now see today that you have really different types of people. You have people that say, hey, I can work at home very well. Let me use that further. We have other people that were almost begging, like, after 2 weeks, when can I come back to the office, because I can't stand it at home. So we had people all the time. We had some people here in the office, and quite paradoxically, there is one lady that normally works at home, and now said, well, I have my kids at home, I will come to the office every day. And so she did the other way around to make. And I think that's how we try to do, is try to find an individual approach to the staff so that they are managed. And in the end, I think we can say that we didn't miss any deadlines. All salaries were calculated for the clients. All audit reports went out on time. So I think we managed that quite well. Interesting what Da Vinci did with the phishing emails. We also noticed indeed an increase in phishing attacks and attempts. Luckily, our spam filter catches a lot of them, but they are sometimes really very sophisticated. So we definitely saw an increase, especially from banks trying to get into there. But luckily, they indeed contacted our IT department so that they could warn that, hey guys, these emails are fishy. You shouldn't click on it. And even yesterday, we had another attempt. This time aimed at Office 365. So again, I think we have a very good awareness. People mention it to the IT guys. When they see it, they send out an email to everybody. Look, guys, this is a phishing email. Don't go on to that. Yeah. So I think that's how we try to manage. How do we see it to the future? Yeah, things are getting to normal, but what is normal? We still see people at home. We do see that we have much changed in Microsoft Teams. We were thinking about introducing Microsoft Teams before the crisis, and we did that overnight. So I think over the weekend of the 14th of March, we just switched to Microsoft Teams. And now we think that we will even go further with Microsoft Teams and Office 365 and make that really the standard software, because it allows a lot more than the software we've had before. So I think this is an acceleration we have and we see. Also, we see that it's now easier for clients to accept video calls. Like I'm dealing a lot with foreign clients, and before that it sometimes took you weeks or months before you actually managed to have a meeting, because they had to coordinate calendars, flights coming to Slovakia, or you moving to Belgium or to the UK. And now if you call them and say, hey, can we have a video call? It's, yeah, sure, next week or tomorrow, whatever. So I think that is for us another channel to be closer to our clients and to make sure that we can reach out better to our clients, and something we're definitely going to take forward to the future and make sure that this is something that is a positive side from the current crisis.
Thank you. You're finished, Bart, or?
Yeah, I think so. Unless there will be later on questions, I will be happy to answer, of course.
Yeah, let's first finish the round. Thank you for your talk, and I agree with you. I think that more video calls is also more sustainable for the world. So, as a chamber, we also dearly support the circular economy. So it's also nice to see that, and that it's much easier. And one maybe small joke, like you said, that people want to go back to the office. That I have also a colleague where I work with every day. He's 60 plus, and he said, I want to go to retirement. He was telling me all the time, and before COVID, I want to go to retirement. So give me a lot of money, and I'm 60, I want to stop working. Now, after a few weeks being at home, he said, listen, I don't want to go to retirement. I hate to be at home with my wife. Let me please work in the office. So that was a strange thing, what I saw coming back to you, people wanting to work in the office. And of course, we have also a lot of people with small kids at home, getting crazy and in a cramped space, and they have to teach and etc. So it's not always difficult. But thanks for your story. Richard, can you share with us from your perspective as being board member, country manager of a bank, how do you see things, and how also how do you look forward getting out of this a little bit?
Okay, thank you, Jan Lambert. Actually, you promoted me. I'm not the country manager. I have a boss who is a country manager.
But they didn't tell you yet? Sorry.
No, not yet. But since you are looking in the future, maybe. Okay. Right now,
think,
I have a very good boss I'm happy with.
I hope she is not in the call.
I think she is, as a matter of fact. But so I'm working as the head of corporate banking or corporate banking director, and in the same time, I'm vice president of the Dutch Chamber of Commerce. I think, to a large extent, our story is a little bit resembles what Peter said and Bart, with some differences. I think, we as a bank were not traditionally used to work from our clients only. So banks normally have quite a large staff being in a presence in the bank. So it was for us, in a way, new experience to send a lot of staff home. But at the same time, we needed to maintain minimum required, so necessary staff in the bank. So we need to ensure that we have a part of the bank still physically present in a bank, part of staff, managing to cover the necessary functions like signing off or, or being really there. And at the same time, we minimize this group for, to the least number possible. For the others, of course, this was a new experience because, as I said, we were used to come every day in the office and come every evening back home. This has changed clearly. So this was a new experience for us, and we needed to tackle it. We didn't really do it the same way as Peter said, so put all the monitors inside the car and drive it around, but it was close, I think. So there's also one little bit difference that in the same time we were not used to it, we needed to find a way, but at the same time we couldn't send everybody home, and we needed to make sure that we have still some staff present in a bank. I think, that brings me also to point which Bart mentioned, contact with clients. Basically the bank is mostly about people, and we don't have any, products to deal with, we have simply, it's a client business and people business. And suddenly our work became pretty much office and internet driven because we needed to do all things on computer, and meetings with clients were basically impossible. Honestly, in the last, since mid-March until today, actually I met physically only one client, one person. Before crisis, it was like more like one meeting per week at least, so you could see the difference what it made. Nevertheless, of course, the way how I think everybody tried to arrange it or manage it, we switched to internet platforms. However, each client uses different ones. So on my mobile, I have like 6 applications that could be used for communication. Starting with Teams, then with Cisco and many other ones. So depending on what client prefers, actually we switch to that one and who we send the invitation. So that's why this is briefly a little bit the experience that we had. I think with respect to security, I think banks are in general very cautious of the security and bank privacy data. So that not much change there. Nevertheless, I think it's very much on our clients really to be careful and minded of things that can happen, like phishing, and these kind of things that our next panelist will talk about. So this is one more time, I think, a reminder for them that they should really watch out and be careful of that, because for banks, I think this pandemic didn't change much on that because they need to maintain strict rules and be careful about it, whether it's pandemic or not. But I think clients should be reminded that this indeed what they need to follow up as well. That would be all, I think, very briefly from my side, Jan Lambert. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks. And it's always nice to have this insight, what is happening in a bank. And I think we are very happy that everything is stable and continuing and also making this digital shift. Then I would like to, before we go to questions and answers, I would like to ask Peter Kolarov to share his experience. We met just before in February in the office, and you were telling us on your great plans and security devices. We are very anxious to see them live when they are produced from the Košice factory. So enlighten us and tell us your cool story from security and the things you are doing from Slovakia perspective.
Thank you very much. So hello, my name is Peter Kolarov, and I'm currently CEO of Cryonic, which is a Slovak-Dutch cybersecurity startup developing products and solutions in the area of highly secure passwordless authentication, such as this Cryonic Key Vault, a smart authenticator. And since Cryonic is actually a distributed company with mostly shared office space in Netherlands, Slovakia, and US even, most people here are actually working from their home anyway on a daily basis. So this COVID crisis did not actually affect our mode of operations beyond maybe having too many lunches in the office instead of going out. But as we are all distributed geographically and have mostly very technical staff, we can get away with any central servers and central domain infrastructure for authentication. Thus, luckily, we don't have these any internal VPN issues. We actually use more decentralized infrastructure, such as end-to-end encrypted email from Proton. This eliminates attacks on business email about DNS takeover or phishing, for example. Another tool that we use, that we recently switched to, is this decentralized end-to-end encrypted communication platform by Keybase for chat and file sharing. And to prove that these guys are doing a good job, even though they're also startup, it's the recent acquisition of Keybase by Zoom, which will hopefully fix these Zoom issues that we are all familiar with by now. Yeah, the decentralized infrastructure that we use is actually more safe, but it has one major problem. And if you forget your credentials in this infrastructure, there is no help. You cannot call someone and help you recover passwords. There is no password recovery or key recovery. So we all have to be aware of this and stick to the rules, such as not your key, not your data. And this is actually another reason that our new product, Key Vault, is of very high value to even ourselves in the first place. What COVID crisis did show us, as we have monitored the cybersecurity landscape and talked to our clients, has been the urgent need for full digital transformation and secure remote access from any device. For example, where authentication to sensitive systems goes beyond passwords in use cases such as VPN authentication, domain logins, or the need for easy use to passwordless, unphishable internet banking. And since I mentioned phishing, as this was mentioned before, this has actually really increased by about 700% since the crisis started. And this is mostly due to the hackers that were all too aware of people, at home under stress and being much more vulnerable to phishing emails, which resulted in real hacks, in kind of close to us, like such as Brno University Hospital, which was also the largest COVID testing facility. I was actually surprised myself when I received a nicely crafted phishing email, in Slovak, which actually I have never seen before. So this means, yes, the phishing is really a big issue. But for us, the lessons learned, I guess, mostly is to be ready with our product before this high need for it arises. And but overall, the crisis was actually good to us. We have gained more clients due to these easy online meetings and saving us on travel cost. And even we managed to actually close the next round of financing, which is usually much harder during this crisis. So, yeah, that's the quick point of view from our side at this.
All right. Thanks, Peter, for your story. So everybody in the call, if you have questions, because that's how we set it up, we will share some information and some interesting lessons learned. So if you want to ask a question, please put it in the chat. We will give you the word or unmute your camera so you can ask questions, or put the questions in the chat and we will ask them for you. Since there's no imminent questions popping up in the chat yet, so my question to Bart would be, you spoke already a little bit about data protection, but did you take extra measures? Can you tell us a little bit, since you are an accounting firm, how important is that? And also, what could other companies learn from that to better protect their data?
Yeah, thank you, Lambert. No, there was nothing really specifically that we have implemented, because of the crisis. Standard what we have is like, first of all, we have a very high level spam system, so that filters away a lot of the bad emails. Then we have a very high security with ACID on every computer. And then we have data in several applications that are also, again, protected on their own. If people have notebooks, in principle, the notebooks are fully encrypted, so that even in case of theft, they can't work with the computers. The passwords to use for those people that would have a VPN are really very high. It's not something they can choose themselves. And very often, people use the remote desktop system. So that means that even in such a case, the data is protected because the data remains on our own servers. And for the moment, we still have our own servers. So we have not a big cloud, we have our own servers. We're a bit on that, maybe archaic. But when we moved to this office several years ago now, there was like a separate server room, so we had everything installed with stuff like that. So for the moment, we stayed on that, and I think that's how we are really properly protected, because that's how we do it. And also, when we have exchange of sensitive data, we have our cloud or our website application where there is a secure logon for the exchange of the data from us to the client. So we, in principle, do not accept clients sending data through email, especially for payroll. If it's going over payroll, there is no way for emails. Everything has to go through a secure route on the internet.
Thanks for sharing your expertise, and yeah, we are happy that the data at your company is well protected, and we can learn from that. And I think you're right, because before this all started, GDPR was a big topic last year, and there was a lot of legislation around implementation of GDPR, and so that was, I think, a good preparation to be prepared for this crisis, so to speak, and to be better protected. So there's a question coming in for Peter Steiner. You talked about a white hacking company. Can you tell us why you select them and not another company? And I know the company, they are not member of the Chamber of Commerce, but it's a Slovak company. So please go ahead, Peter Steiner.
Okay, so the name of the company is Citadelo. It's a well-known company which does for us already the penetration test for our banking software, not only in Slovakia, but also in Netherlands. So that was our past cooperation. And immediately that was my idea. Okay, can you do also this for us? And they answered very prompt. They prepared the attack, and they delivered us the results. They are also doing these trainings for, it's in Slovak, unfortunately for now, but they are now working on an international version as well. And this training is also for people from company about security, security awareness, and how I found this company in the past. They are very active also on social media, but also they are entrepreneurs of cryptocurrencies and security behind. So they are more focusing not on how to mine it and how to sell it, but how to keep the wallet full of your Bitcoins, not lose them. And in their every quarter they create, or half a year, an event where we also present real-time hacks. So it's really brilliant to see. And whenever I am there, I am then afraid to go on with the normal life, because I think I'm very easy target. So each time I find out what all can be hacked and how easy. So it's a great place for bringing up the awareness.
Okay. Thank you, Peter. Rutgert has also a question for we have to unmute Rutger, Barbara, to Peter Kolarov of Cryonic. He didn't write the question, so I don't know what he will be asking, but he looks like a hacker if you see the picture, so.
He's already.
Go ahead, Rutger.
Okay, good morning. First of all, I have a question for Peter Karloff. A lot of security solutions are not always user-friendly, and because of that, users are getting around or taking shortcuts. Do you have a solution for that in your security product or your security solution?
Yeah, so it's a very good question, actually. I would think that's how we almost started the company. For us, the usability was a #1 factor why we actually are doing what we're doing. We try to combine the usability and security into one solution or one product. In this case, the product that I've shown here just looks like a simple token, but it's actually more a smart authentication token. It recognizes the person based on their more natural traits. So starting with maybe fingerprint, but it can move on to recognizing you by voice, so you can maybe say a PIN code or handwrite a PIN code. What's also important is that the user can use it in the existing infrastructure, so you don't have to install anything on your on any of the device. So you can log into it. You can just touch it to log into Windows or to an internet banking site, to approve a transaction. So you don't have to install any software, any agents, and you have this very secure certified hardware that recognizes you and projects your identity over a standard infrastructure. Just Windows and normal web browser is needed. So that makes it very usable, we believe.
All right. I hope that's an answer to your question, Rutger. I know it looks like a USB stick, but it's I've seen it live, so it's for sure it's not a USB stick.
Thank you.
Yes,
thank you for
yes, it's a lot more than a USB stick.
All right. Maybe a question for Henk Kor. Can you tell us a little bit? I know it's not completely related to security, but security is also stability. So how you look in Slovakia coming out of the crisis, and is there also from Dutch government, or is there extra effort on security and keep the companies safe in Slovakia?
Yes, well, first of all, let us say and let us be clear on that. Slovakia has done extremely well in this crisis, and I think we owe to say it that by very early taking measures, by very early taking a number of points, if you compare the number of victims and the number of infected people in Slovakia with other countries in Europe, Slovakia indeed has done very well. So that is a very positive point. We see also that now, quicker than usually, things get back to normal. Of course, we have to wait for the state of emergency, and I think it would be a good thing if we see that happen, but I understand that that is planned now. How to develop further, I think it is very important, and we see that also from the side of the government, that we give more attention to security. As we heard from the different stories, the awareness has grown, but also the problems have grown. We ourselves had experience with Globsec, where some colleagues participated, and a Zoom session was bombarded by a very ugly video destroying the whole thing for at least 2 minutes. Now, so it is important that we do more and more of those things. We are working on that as an embassy by having exchange in what we do in the Netherlands. We had teams here already twice to compare notes and what we do at an international level on cybersecurity. I hope that is more or less an answer to the question, Jan Lambert. That is what I see in the coming months, and I think it would be very good that at some point we can go back to normal, but of course we have to stay very vigilant.
Yeah, I really appreciate it, and I think we all share your views here. Thanks, Henkor, for giving this insight as well. So I'm looking to questions. There was also a question for Peter Steiner sent to me privately. Since you are heavily dependent with a lot of people using heavy bandwidth, developing software, so how do you cope with that? So what did you do to make sure everything keeps on running and people can work?
Okay, so what might be probably the most logical case is doubling the bandwidth in the offices for the VPN nodes, but we didn't. So how we did it is that we are actually Amazon Web Services business consultancy partner and also technological partner in Slovakia and also in Netherlands, which means we are already very long time relying on cloud technology. And we are hosting all the development, test environments, acceptance environments, production environments, all in AWS cloud in the European region, of course. So that helps us to overcome also this, because actually our people are logging to remote environments which have all the performance and all the bandwidth they ever can use. And of course, we cannot solve the last mile if someone is working from a hill behind the house. That probably won't be possible to solve on our end. But if the connection is at least feasible for normal video call, it's good enough for all the work we need to do. So that was our way how to solve it.
All right. Thanks, Peter Steiner. I think there is. These were all the questions what I could see so far. So I would like to ask the speakers if they want to add something to the story or react on the webinar before we conclude this webinar of the Netherlands Chamber of Commerce in cooperation with the embassy.
Maybe I will add one small remark, which I forgot in my first short speech. And that was, I'm also referring to Bart's input in regards to how to keep track with own people, own employees, own colleagues and friends. And that I'm really proud for Da Vinci. I was not part of it, but it was created by our marketing team and our management. We had 2 week sessions, 2 week surprise sessions for everybody, where people got a package for home-baked special cake.
Babovka. You are in Slovakia, so you have to be telling the Slovak traditions, yeah? Babovka.
But the funny part was that nobody knew, of course, not even me, I just paid the bill. But the fun was that people got a recipe and ingredients and they had to do it on their own. And then they started to share all the pictures with the cakes. So it was really a hype for the company. And we continued with the help of management to support it financially, of course, and also with ideas. So we had a beautiful quiz after work, which was really a fun. And also yoga sessions are until now to get a little bit of the pain of neck and bad sitting habits and similar. So I think that was really a great thing, how to keep the team connected and people engaged with the company.
Yeah, I fully agree, because it's not about working from home, but also colleagues miss the social contacts, you know. So, and all the video calls tend to be like very functional, pop, and then go instead of in the past going to the coffee, especially with Dutch people, going to the coffee machine, talking about all kinds of stuff which is not related to work, then start a meeting, and then talking again about stuff, and then walking too late to the other meeting, etc. So I think this social part, I think it's also important to keep stable, healthy employees for the future. Peter Kolarov, do you want to add something or as a last
Uh,
final?
Yeah, sure. Basically, when COVID started and we noticed the increase in phishing and these attacks on hospitals, especially, we decided to kind of offer this free consulting in the access management and authentication. And we would still like to extend it to anybody who's interested. You know, we're willing to help as much as we can, whatever our resources allow us. At least initial consulting or some. If you need basically some help in this area.
Okay, good to know. Thanks for the offer. And Bart is raising his finger.
Yeah, no, I just want to react on your comments about the social contact. I think what we realized is that I think it's impossible in our business to have like a fully offline company. That means without any real physical office. Of course, there are a lot of procedures and work that can be done from wherever you want. But we did realize that there are certain areas where home office is not possible. That is, for instance, onboarding new staff and making sure that they get to know the culture of the company. I mean, you can do some tests online, but getting a new staff immersed in your company, in your culture, you need some real physical contact. Also training, and because we work a lot with juniors in accountancy, in audit, we work with juniors. I mean, if you want them to really progress, you need somebody that is sitting next to them and explaining them on the job what to do. So what we realized that yes, you can do a lot of offline, individually from wherever you are, but there are definitely areas for which you need this office, for which you need your colleagues to meet, etc. So I think it's finding out a good balance between the two, not being anymore 100% all the time in the office, but 100% at home. I think it's also not the ideal way of cooperating and making sure that you as a company thrive and have success.
Yeah, thanks, Bart. And I think you are touching on very important points. How to transfer DNA digitally. Indeed, that's very difficult. That could be another topic of a nice webinar. How to share the thoughts on that one, actually. So, and also how to do knowledge transfer, because I think everybody is. It's easy. We also hired, I think, more than 10 people in the last 10 weeks. But how to train them, how to get them up to speed, and that's another important thing. So let's think about how we could share their maybe in the next webinar experience, because I think everybody is struggling with that. Pavel, you had also a question.
It was just a funny idea that came to my head. Seeing Richard's daughter over there in the call, I was just wondering, maybe at the end we can all brainstorm a little bit. When is the right time to actually have that tough cybersecurity discussion with our kids? It's one of those things that every parent most probably thinks about, together with some other hot topics that need to be discussed. So maybe that's just a final idea to think about for the future, because sooner or later, these cybersecurity threats that we are experiencing in our work life are going to be also present in our homes, not only through smart home applications and solutions, but also through mobile phones of our kids. I don't know what age of children you guys have, but with teenagers, it's getting quite challenging. So I'm waiting for the first cybersecurity company to emerge that will focus only on personal and family security. I'll be one of their first customers.
Yeah, I think it's a very interesting question and topic. With Richard, I don't know if you can react to that, or if you are willing to react to that. So.
No, actually, I think this is indeed probably a topic for the future. Fortunately, my kids are still small, and this one just came uncoordinated with her escaping her mom, and she sort of silently came in, so it's okay. But sooner or later it will come. I mean, we experienced for the last 2 months, my son, who is a little bit older, is first grader now. He had Zoom lessons simply every day, Zoom lesson. And first we needed to figure out, of course, and then you know, this simply, well, they didn't discuss anything privately sensitive, of course, in their lessons, but they already had extensive experience. You know, and looking in the future, well, I don't know, but there is a risk that clearly the pandemic will not disappear overnight, and it will stay with us for some time, and we will need to deal with that, and the situation will continue starting September again, both private-wise, you know, schooling and so on, and also work-wise, because what Bart mentioned about you know, hiring and dealing with employees also on the ground, not only virtually online. This concerns, I think, also us. I mentioned that we need to, in the bank, maintain a certain minimum physical presence. And we need, of course, we like to have the rest on the home office as much as possible to decrease the risk of dissemination of the virus. And this will probably, maybe we'll come back to that regime also back in September. But how to do it, you know, in such a way that you don't mix up those people, you know, that those who, you still have the functions that are vital for the bank to be done in the office, that you have still people for that who can come to the bank, who are not in quarantine for 14 days, who are not in hospital, how to avoid mixing the teams so the disease transmitted. So these are the challenges that really you need to overcome, unless you are really a fully digital company who can put everybody at home and you know, you don't need to have anybody physically present in the workplace. But Bart said, you know, we need to have maybe Peter Steiner is sitting now in the office as well. You know, so if a second round of pandemic would come, hopefully not, but if it comes, how to make sure that we sort of are prepared to deal with it? You know, what are the ways how to minimize the risk, how to make sure that the company is running, you know, and how to make sure that our clients and our business are not impacted the least. So these are the challenges that we need to all basically keep in mind, think of them, and potentially get ready.
Yeah. Thanks for your views on that. And if I may react, we have 2 kids, 20 plus, and with that generation, I already see they have fully separated their digital lives. So they have all kinds of fake accounts, how they communicate with friends on gaming and everything. And they have, for their bank accounts, they use different devices. So it's for me, very nice to see how they deal with certain things, that they say, okay, if that's hacked, I will close just that email, I will just open another one, and this I do on Twitch, this do an accounts I had never heard before. So that's interesting. And the last stuff you said about digitalization, since we have a lot of Dutch banks, so and they are all much more digitalized than I think in Slovakia, because we almost don't have branches anymore. In the Netherlands, they are closing day by day physical branches. But now, even in this crisis, customers asked us to be even more digitalized. So, especially the paper trail processes, how to get rid of it. So, interesting times, I would say. Okay, I think it's good to round up because we start on time, we finish on time, because everybody has 10:30 probably other meetings. I would like to thank Mr. Ambassador for joining us, opening the event and giving your thoughts and views. Thanks, speakers, to your preparation and to your views and to your lessons learned. Barbara and Adriana for organizing everything behind the scenes. Really appreciate it. And also the viewers who stayed with us, and also the viewers, when you switched on or came in later, there's a recording, so you can listen from the beginning. Barbara and Adriana will make sure that it's published later on the website or on YouTube. I don't know where they will publish it. So once again, thanks for joining. Thanks for watching. Ďakujem veľmi pekne. and have a wonderful day, and see you on the next one.
Thank you.
Bye, everybody. Do widzenia.
Do widzenia.
Do widzenia.